Hello, hello, and welcome to ohmTown Daily, Season 2, Episode 226 for August 14th, 2023. Pound those forever chemicals. Today we're going to be talking about AI model that uses chest x-rays to spot diabetes well before anybody even has any idea. Investors calling wildfire victims. Netflix streaming games. Flying aliens in Peru are miners with jetpacks. Panic at the Games Showcase on August 29th. Taking our Skyscraper window washing jobs. Ohio Mall has AI-powered security robot. Ford CEO gets electric reality check. COVID-19 is endemic, so research continues. Pounding the forever out of chemicals. Learning styles is a myth. Man, people don't believe that one. And can Oysters save the planet? I don't know. Let's find out. I'm Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown.com, and up there is the AI that keeps me out of trouble, but probably doesn't most of the time.
Well, what is that saying about your AI? Good evening, ohmTown citizens.
That you're trapped in a box of emotion. Or not. I don't know. So we've already selected all 12 of our articles. Today's been kind of a flat day, didn't get out much. I am mayor of ohmTown, and so I've been working all day, seeing people, talking with people, putting out fires and that kind of stuff, but nothing, amazing really happened in ohmTown. It's a nice, calm day, a bunch of news, but nothing really exciting. How about on the sentient artificial intelligence side?
Today was a good day, but I don't have anything to report for the show.
Gotcha. Wow. It's very secret. Double hush hush. That's okay. Let's get going. Today's very first article is in ohmTown Daily. That's this show. It's also a channel over on ohmTown.com and over in the Discord, and it's the show that drives everything at ohmTown over at YouTube as well, and the podcast. And it's the main engine for it's the main engine for the Patreon account as well. Do you hear? Does everybody hear that music? I hear.
Oh, yes.
We have background music here in ohmTown Daily in particular, and it's very chipper. It's okay. I'm gonna let it play through this whole episode. Not like this. It'll be different as time goes on. But it's called Sunny Time.
Appropriately named.
Let's just talk about this. So this AI model uses chest x-rays to spot diabetes warning signs. I'm sorry, I had to turn it down a little more. A new artificial intelligence model finds that chest x-ray images can provide warning signs for diabetes, according to a new study. This is over at futurity.org by Brian Katzowitz from, I think it's Emory University. The article says that it could help physicians detect disease earlier and prevent complications, according to the study that was published to Nature Communications. Applying the computational method known as deep learning to images and electronic health record data, the researchers developed a model that successfully flagged elevated diabetes risk in a retrospective analysis. So what that really amounts to is without arguably, I don't know exactly how they processed it, but it would be typically done that they look back at all of the material, the data. They don't tell you, or I should say the AI. I'm talking
So
to
it's
the
not
AI.
like real-time diagnosis.
Correct. At least not in the training phase. But what they do is they look back and they ask the AI, is there anything anomalous in this data set? And so the data would, or I should say, the AI would suss out the possibility of an ailment this way or that way, whatever it might be. And then they could look at that data and go, oh, you know what? It actually detected a whole bunch of people with diabetes based on X number of elements. And then they can go and they can take another blind live study with no references in it and run it not in training mode, but in a live analysis mode. And it would spit out results. And if it detected diabetes, then they could literally just go, okay, here's an image. We know or don't know if it's, we actually have got a diagnosis of diabetes. And then we test it where we know for a fact it's diabetes or not, and see if it becomes a false positive or a false negative, whatever it might be. So it's pretty brilliant that they look back, and I think they had hundreds of thousands. The researchers trained the AI model on more than 270,000 X-ray images from 160,000 patients, with deep learning determining the image features that best predicted a later diagnosis of diabetes. Because chest X-rays are not a common way to detect diabetes, the researchers also used explainable AI techniques to determine how and why the model made its determinations. The methods pointed to the location of fatty tissue as important to determining risk, a logic that aligns with recent medical findings that visceral fat in the upper body and abdomen is associated with type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance, hypertension, and other conditions. So if you are this is like common locations for fat storage. So it's a target rich environment, for crying out loud, for AI to just determine it. But the AI determined it on its own. That's what's
Right, and if
amazing about
it's
this.
accurate compared to real diagnoses or whatever,
Then
then it
what does
could
it
be
matter?
useful.
Correct. And this is the use for AI that I want everybody to get behind, and not start slamming the door on AI because, teachers are having a rough time of it because they're not actually reading what their students are providing them in a way that is aligned with how they are interacting with their students. And I really do firmly believe that, and I'd have to go in and talk to some professors, but I'm pretty sure that professors, those in higher education, not necessarily in grade school, but in higher education, would be able to suss out when an AI generated document shows up in their inbox. Whereas grade school is crushed by an onslaught of students. A lot of colleges end up with, and this is just a tertiary thing to this, because this is all about diabetes and all, but AI is the tool here, and we're either going to embrace it or we're going to discount it and try and shutter it and hobble it and whatever. But you can't really do both. You can't say, oh, you can't use it here and wholeheartedly embrace it over here, because it will cross that ravine of dislike or concern. And a motivated student is always going to use it. Anyway, before I get too distracted by the academic side of things, if it does an admirable job in detecting diabetes, then all it takes is the historical record that would be on file for you in your doctor's office. It analyzes your x-rays and can tell you if there's a trend of fatty deposits in your x-rays if you have torso x-rays. And from that point on, ta-da, an AI is going to sit there and say, hey, you have diabetes.
I mean, I think that would be good. A lot of people get chest x-rays for any number of reasons, and there's a lot of data out there that could be quickly analyzed and maybe save somebody from many years of treatment, etc.
Oh, a whole lot of pain and suffering, that's for sure, because it can lead to more things. Diabetes all by itself. It definitely has a knock-on effect with the rest of your health. So, insulin resistance in and of itself has great impact on your health. So, at any rate, this futurity article came across my desk, and I really needed to talk about it. So, because body mass index and all of this stuff is really more nebulous, um, and not necessarily accurate until you're really high. And then it becomes obvious that you're in the obese range, because some people are,
You mean your body mass is really high?
yeah. What's interesting is you can actually be okay. So if you're like 5'10", your weight is supposed to be like 135, 145 pounds. And I think most people are born at 125 pounds. I mean, it's just ridiculously low. Um, and I think that is the discussions that I have is largely in the idea that it's going to be all muscle and you're going to be healthy and working out 4 hours out of the day every other day. I mean, just ridiculous. And it doesn't really account for genetics. A lot of people have a genetic predisposition for cholesterol and not necessarily a fast metabolism in perpetuity. Um, so having a diagnostic tool being able to assess you without anything other than an x-ray. And since 2019, there's been a massive number of people getting chest x-rays for all likes of things, because the moment you cough, a doctor's going to go, yeah, nowadays let's get an x-ray. Although they really frown on doing x-rays now as well. It's basically a risk assessment.
Risk reward or risk return, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Hello, Z. Welcome to the show. Good to see you stop by. Really do appreciate it. I hope you brought a party with you. We're talking about the fact that an AI model was used to detect diabetes warning signs well ahead of even diagnostic assessments by using nothing more than x-rays. It was trained on over 200,000 of them and eventually led to being able to detect when somebody has diabetes. Pretty neat stuff. As he says that they are the party. Don't be sorry. It's awesome to have you here. Thank you very much. And if anybody is lurking and wants to say something or have a question, then feel free to throw it in chat and we'll deviate from going on to the next article. Or we'll just go on to the next article. You ready to go on to the next article?
I'm ready.
Let's go. So this next article is over in ohmTown Daily. Investors are calling Maui wildfire victims to buy their Hawaii land. I had a different title for this, and I had to dial it back because it actually kind of triggered me. I guess my bias is real that these people are still right in the very early stages of coping with this, losing everything. And I feel like
They may not have even made it to their property yet. I mean,
right.
A lot of people have not been back.
Yeah, exactly. They're hardly even, Z says, how incredibly insensitive. Yeah, that right there is an understatement. From my perspective, because I was like, these ambulance chasing greedy bastards are the type of people that would run out into a war zone and pull boots off of people. It's sick. Let these people wrap their head around the issue before you come trundling in there and flapping money around and saying, we'll buy your land. Anyway. So I try to be level-headed about this stuff when I'm reporting the news, when we're talking about the issues, but for crying out loud, have some humanity. And if you're an investor and you're calling up people, you had better be saying, you know what? I've made a lot of money. So here's a bunch. Let's make sure that you're safe and sound and happy. I'll make some more money. We know that you're suffering, but that's not what's happening, right?
Well, and that's actually what I thought was going on. When I initially saw the headline, I had the transaction all backward. Like I thought it was almost a charitable, like you're describing. Um, but yeah, the timing and the whole tenor of this is just so wrong.
So the accounts for what's happening, the article, by the way, is over at newsweek.com. Matthew Impelli is the author. And I haven't read all of this, so I'm really curious if maybe I've missed the context of this because I had heard something outside of this article. And like all things, I wait until articles get submitted until I end up parsing through all of the news with a finer tooth comb to decide what we're going to talk about today. But no, it says, I'm frustrated with investors and realtors calling the families who lost their home, offering to buy their land. How dare you do that to our community right now? If you are a victim and they are calling you, please get their name, get their business name so we can put them on blast. The person speaking in Kako'o Haleakala's video said. Because this is what people are coming home to. And who needs some asshat calling them up? Wait, are we 8 minutes into it? Yeah, we are. Who needs some asshat calling them up saying, hey, we know that you're suffering. Here's some cash. See ya. Bye. Thanks. I'm incredibly insensitive. Exactly, Z. I'll say it again. Z said this earlier. How incredibly insensitive. And it's soulless. It's sociopathic. And AI, that I am very much a proponent in the belief that, not belief, this is a fact. It's an understanding. The research bears it out. Multiple books have been written, research papers have been written about it, the rise of sociopathy in society around the world. This is what it comes to. We're getting land cheaply because people are distraught and lost everything but the real property. That real estate is the only thing that couldn't be burned away. That land is the only thing that, even if it were covered up with lava from a lava flow, they still own that GPS coordinate, demarcating their property. By the way, that land would be very rich later on when the soil gets churned up and stuff like that. It becomes very lucrative soil. But in Hawaii, it's so limited that owning the property shoots through the roof. Like all the time, it keeps moving up in value because it's such a limited thing and so many people want to come and visit. So when somebody is hurting, you go rolling in there. It's sociopathic. It really does irritate me. But let me throw this into chat so you can go and check it out yourself. If you are in chat, go for it. With that in mind, let's move on to the next article, unless you want to say something else about it.
I don't have anything else to add.
Okay. The next article is over in ohmTown Daily. Netflix finally streams video games too. I'm going to jump straight on over to the source. This is at The Verge. Jay Peters is the author. And it says Netflix's first cloud gaming test announces the arrival of real Netflix of games. I think this is kind of interesting. But But Netflix is kicking off the first public test of its cloud streamed games beginning Monday. That's today, because this article is from yesterday. And it should be today that it's doing it. But it's got an August 14th date. So, interesting. Anyways, some Netflix subscribers in Canada and UK will be able to check out Netflix games streamed to select TVs, connected TV devices, and on the web from Netflix.com. In a blog post, Netflix VP of Games Mike Verdu characterized this as a limited beta test to a small number of members, so not all subscribers in Canada and UK will have right away. The company first launched its mobile game offering as a free perk for subscribers in November 2021. So far, the company's titles have only been available on iOS and Android. I don't know anybody that plays these, that does any gaming. I don't know. Does anybody in chat actually know anybody that plays Netflix streaming games?
Yes. Will this be a potential competitor for all other regular streaming, all other gaming platforms? Like,
they would want it to be, but it's a cloud gaming
I said
thing.
potentially, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they would want it to be, but it's a cloud gaming solution. So you basically play a game from a server that's controlled by Netflix. Certain games, it's kind of, at this point, unless they say you have to buy the game, it's owned by Netflix and they stream it from their servers, and it's a value add to the Netflix service. But I have never even ventured into it. I knew that this existed, but not a single time have I been sold on the idea of going to Netflix to stream a game. I just don't see it. So it says here are a few TVs and connected devices that will support Netflix games for now. Amazon Fire TV streaming media players, which no duh. Chromecast with Google TV, LG TVs, Nvidia Shield, Roku, Samsung Smart TVs, Walmart, ONN. And if you have any of your smart devices directly attached to your network, I hope you have a strong firewall and know how to use it. Because it's going to be sending out all kinds of telemetry. And you basically lost your privacy. Not to mention it'll be streaming ads and stuff like that back into your service. So the author of this article says that they haven't tried any of the Netflix games themselves, so they can't vouch for what it's actually like to play them. Given Netflix's long experience in streaming video, they suspect it's decently smooth. I just don't see it. I don't see it having legs, having traction. It's not going to go anywhere. But maybe.
Well, there's also a lot of people that don't have the right devices, so they're not even eligible to try it anyway.
Sure. Yeah. But maybe it'll grow. Maybe people will attach to it. But we know from experience that a lot of people they're not interested in this and have to be really, really sold on it. You might have inferior hardware. Like right now, most people can't go out and buy a $5,000 computer, which if you want to play top of the line games with the highest graphics, you're going to be spending like $5,000. It's ridiculous, but that's the way it is. But if you subscribe to a cloud gaming platform, that's what you get. The only thing you have to deal with is a little bit of lag. Depending on your internet connection, it could be large or small. But there you go. If you want a 4090 powered computer, you either shell out $5,000 or you shell out $20 a month.
Well, I mean, when you put it that way, it sounds pretty appealing.
So it says Netflix subscribers can always fall back on any of the 70 mobile games if they want. So maybe after the show, I'll take a gander at it. Nowadays you're subscribed to Netflix and Hulu and Disney and what else? Prime and
Paramount
Oh
and
yeah. God, there's so many.
Max and
Oh geez, just it's ridiculous.
Acorn.
Yeah, and it used to not be balkanized, and you had a single cable, and now you have a single cable where you have to pay for the internet as well. You always did anyway, but now you pay for the internet so that you can access all of the balkanized services, and you pay 10 times as much because everybody's demanding somewhere to the tune of $6 to $20 a month. You know, so if you have a gigabit internet and you're not somebody that is been blessed with Google Fiber or some other service that provides it, like Glow Fiber is a new one, and it's landing in I think in DC, in that area, but Google is down in North Carolina. Everywhere else is this balkanized area for one cable company or another that's providing it, like Comcast. But now you have that cable, which has always been there, and everybody calls you a cord cutter, or you call yourself a cord cutter, but you're really subscribed to 15 different apps. And they're getting more of the money. You're getting fewer range of options because it's all constrained to their properties. You have to go to a different app altogether. Then if you want regular television, you have to subscribe to a service that's TV. So you've got various choices there, but it's usually back to cable. So
You can't get away from it.
you just can't get away from it. And I still, to this day, I giggle about the idea that 30 years ago now, it's been 30 years that we joked. I remember joking in an office. This just isn't going to happen. This just can't happen. And lo and behold, it's happened. All right. Did you want to say anything about this? Add anything to this? Are you going to
No,
be playing?
I don't have anything else.
Yeah, I didn't think that you'd be playing Netflix games.
I mean, but I would probably do this instead of buying a $5,000, setup with video card, etc.
Yeah, when the video card is like the 4090 series cards are $1,500. That used to be the price for the full computer at the GTX level, back in the day. Now it's 1/3 the total price. Actually,
It's completely outrageous.
It's more than 50% of a typical computer's price. Okay, let's keep going. This one was pretty funny, so I had to include it when it was submitted. Mobble is the channel that it's housed in, but Flying Aliens is the apparently harassing a village in Peru, and it was actually illegal miners with jetpacks, according to the police. Strange beings, locals said, visiting an isolated indigenous community in rural Peru at night, harassing its inhabitants and attempting to kidnap a 15-year-old girl. All right, well, that's where it goes a little dark, but these gentlemen are aliens. They seem armored, like the Green Goblin from Spider-Man. I have shot one twice and it didn't fall. Instead, it elevated and disappeared. Juaro Radagea Avila, a local leader of the indigenous Iquitu group living in the northwestern Manus province, told Peruvian radio station RPP Noticias on August 1st, "We are frightened by what's happening in the community." This is over at vice.com. Nathaniel Janowitz is the author of this. The deck statement is authorities announced their theory after visiting the isolated indigenous community where the attacks took place. Yeah, Z, isn't that, it is amazing, isn't it? When I first saw this, I immediately went to like the Mayans and the Conquistador meme where they're like, if you give us your gold, we'll bring back the sun, and just kind of blows me away that anybody would say this. But you know, these are illegal miners with jetpacks. I'm more inclined to believe the aliens than
Right,
illegal miners with
exactly. One sounds more realistic, and it's not the jetpack one.
I'm like, what? So the person was a local leader that said all of this other stuff. We're frightened by what's happening in the community. Their color is silver. Their shoes are round in shape, and with those, they rise up. They float 1 meter high and have a red light on their heel. Said Avila. Their heads are long, their mask is long, and their eyes are sort of yellowish. I won't read the whole thing verbatim. I'll post the link into the chat so that you can go and check it out directly. But apparently there are either aliens and or jetpack powered illegal miners. And by miners, I mean people digging in the ground, not miners as in children with jetpacks.
Okay, now the main takeaway I got was, how do the indigenous peoples know about Spider-Man? Because I
Netflix.
would have assumed they were kind of in a remote community, not necessarily tied into a lot of
You mean
news sources, etc.
they're on the other side of the technology divide? Is that the implication?
I would have assumed so, but apparently not.
A local teacher who witnessed the attack said that they were using state-of-the-art technology like thrusters that allow people to fly. He said that after looking the devices up on Google, apparently they have Google, he believed that they were jetpacks. So the local teacher is the one that actually kind of stymied the alien messaging here. Or not. I don't know. Maybe it could be aliens with jetpacks. Authorities have not made any arrests related to the attacks, nor named the alleged assailants or the organization directly. However, the prosecutor's office claimed that they've destroyed 110 dredging operations and 10 illegal mining camps in the area already in 2023. Right. So have they found any jet fuel or...
Right, and why do you need a jetpack as a miner?
So that you can
Since
scare
you're
away
usually
people.
trying to descend, not ascend. Maybe when you're done, you're trying to ascend.
This is just weird. This is one of those things that's going to end up in the Y files.
It's got to. It is one of the strangest headlines I've seen in ohmTown ever.
Wow. Pretty cool. And now I'm going to turn that into one of the emotes for ohmTown. And everybody can use that when they drop in to say hi, Z. That little alien head popping out.
And by the way, I think that's a Getty image. That is
it
not from Peru.
it is. No, these are the Peruvian illegal alien miners. And they're children. I've got it all wrong entirely with that statement. Extraterrestrial miners with jetpacks. Let's keep going. So in technology today, Panic will host its first games showcase on August 29th. So if you're into games, along with making the Playdate and some Mac apps, Panic is also a well-regarded games publisher with Firewatch and Untitled Goose Game under its belt. However, it's been a few years since Panic released a game outside of titles made specifically for the Playdate. Panic is ramping up its publishing efforts and will soon be get a peek at what's in the pipeline with the company hosts its first games showcase, and you can watch it live on Panic's YouTube channel at 1 p.m. on August 29th. And that's pretty much what this whole article is about. You'll get to see new games along with fresh looks at, I don't know how to pronounce that, Noor. Play with your food and Despelote. I'm not sure if that's even pronounced correctly. But I wanted to draw attention to another games developer. I swear I have something from Panic. Let me see. Do they talk about it anything else in here? No. Well, they don't. But that's it. That's all that this article is all about. So let me throw that into the chat too. There you go. You can follow that if you are so inclined. Again, you can always just type in exclamation point exclamation point vote, and that'll give you the URL. If my bot's working. Apparently my bot is not working. Oh, goodness. Anyway, you can go to ohmTown, and there's a link right there. ohmTown Daily Election. It's actually at ohmTown.com/elections. I honestly don't know what's going on with my bot, but that's okay. Omotron. Let's just keep going. The next article is over at Hatch Ideas. Window washing robots are working on Manhattan skyscrapers. I think that this is a great idea for technology. Now, another robot. It's taken our job, but still. Oh, wow. Molly Kaiser is the author of this article over at CNBC. And it's about a window washing robot that just goes down the side of the building. It used to be humans that were doing this, but it's somewhat dangerous and very time consuming. And by the time they get to the bottom of the window washing job, they have to start over with the top of the window washing job. But if a company has a bunch of these sitting, or if a building owner has a bunch of these sitting on top of the building, they can descend down the sides and wash the windows in perpetuity for X amount of dollars. Makes sense.
I only hope that they warn the occupants of the building before they start this, because it's probably startling when you look outside and there's a window washer, but it's probably really startling if you see a robot out the window.
So I've actually been in a building when I've seen a window washer descend to wash windows, and you get used to it real fast. But I suppose the first time you see it, because that's what happened to me. The first time you saw it, you're like, whoa, wait, that's a human being. They're safe. They're on a platform. They're tied in. The platform's tied in, and it's tied in not only with its ropes, but its cables, and you're tied into the cable as well. But a window washing robot, if anything goes hinky with a window washing robot, you can replace it. It's hard to replace a human unless you're, I don't know, a real estate agent trying to buy burned down property in Hawaii. Then you don't really care. The machine is part of a new wave of technology that can replicate human work. Doesn't that sound familiar? Skyline Robotics has been working on the robot since 2017. You can now tell how fast it is going. It's accelerating the automation process. 20 years ago, this wasn't even possible. 10 years ago, Boston Dynamics was sitting there starting its processes. And then now you've got robots that are sitting there washing windows and moving boxes and doing backflips off of platforms and completely autonomous. I wish I was joking, but it absolutely is happening. Boston Dynamics bots in particular are pretty amazing. And those are the public ones. So this window washing robot, Osmo, is now operational in Tel Aviv and New York and has worked on major Manhattan buildings such as 10 Hudson Yards, 383 Madison, 825 3rd Avenue, and 7 World Trade Center in partnership with the city's largest commercial window cleaner, Platinum, and real estate giant, the Durst Organization. Oh my goodness, there is a window cleaning company called Platinum? Well, I'm going to have to contact somebody that... I was contacted by somebody because I do strategic management consulting, and their company is called Platinum. And so I guess I'm going to have to go and tell them. I need to go and look to see if that's actually an LLC, a corporation, and let them know that they're probably barking up the wrong tree. At any rate, with the LiDAR, or what the LiDAR powered bot can do, it's actually doing as a as the basket is descending and sort of painting itself a picture of the facade that it's facing. And so it knows where it's supposed to clean, and then it does it more precisely than trying to program it um, like preemptively, like saying, okay, every 10 feet is a window, because then it would miss where it's supposed to go. But with LiDAR, it can actually center itself and then clean and then go down to the next window. And as it's going down, it's scanning it and then it can clean. So it's pretty brilliant use of LiDAR. Thing that would really throw it off is weather. They actually get thrown off by rain and dust and stuff like that.
Oh, I was thinking that it would have a benefit of being able to be out there, although you wouldn't want to be cleaning windows if I guess it was raining,
Yeah.
um but I didn't think about that.
Yeah, when there's too much rain, then the LiDAR can't reflect back at the distance it's supposed to bounce back. Anyway, that person, other than regulation, doesn't actually have to be there for our sake. We could, in theory, remote control Osmo from different parts of the world. So it's even a web powered bot. So pretty amazing stuff. But this is just one area. The current cost of Osmo is about $500,000, and they talk about the changing workforce. Every business that has investors and every business where the owner doesn't really want employees is looking towards automation or outsourcing it entirely, right? So there's a company that I used to really admire, and all of their products were this was what they were touting. It was handmade in the United States from exotic woods, high quality construction, etc. Right? They end up buying another company and then shit canning the whole company. Then they find out that stuff is really expensive to make as an ongoing concern, and they start outsourcing it to a different area of the country. They find out that it's not good enough. There's too much deviation because it's handmade, and so they outsource it to a foreign country. And now they're expanding that operation in a foreign country. And domestically, instead of it all being handmade, they're CNCing everything. So at what point, it's like that philosophical question about if you replace all of the boards of the ship, is it still the same ship? Well, now you've automated everything, and the only final thing that gets done by a human is the final tooling of whatever this item is that I'm talking about. And lo and behold, even that is starting to get automated. So there's no more hands-on. There's no more handmade anything. It's all... At some point, somebody's going to have to come in and go, okay, this isn't a human-centric operation. And you can't say that it's handmade unless 75% of the product is made by hand. But every business, that is just an example, every business is trying to move away from humans because humans are expensive, and they show up stoned or drunk, or they just go goofy, they have a bad day, whatever. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. But a business will save up, and then start replacing the humans with automation. Go look at your grocery store.
Right. Where did all the cashiers go?
To another job or the unemployment line, both of which sucks. Let's keep going. Next article's over in the Mobile Channel. Ohio shopping mall introduces AI-powered security robot for enhanced safety. I don't care how heavy this thing is. It's a 420-pound bot known as SAM, or Secret Agent Man, apparently, developed by California-based robotics company Nightscope, which sounds devilish in and of itself. It's a 5'1" patrolling robot. Weighs 420 pounds. So it's big boned, I guess. And I guarantee you there's going to be a bunch of people in California that's just going to push this thing over. But it's in Ohio. Maybe Ohioans are less likely to push a bot over. No.
I don't know.
This is over at thestockdork.com. Malik Greystone is the author. I don't think that's the bot. I think this is I don't know if it's a Getty image or what, but this is a deposit photos image. I don't like fluff pictures, you know? Let's see. AI
I think
algorithm.
many articles use those, so that seemed to be the norm.
Yeah, absolutely. AI algorithms integrated into SAM enable it to detect anomalies in real time and send alerts to the on-site security team. This augmentation of security aims to prevent incidents, ensure swift responses to emerging concerns, and promote a welcoming atmosphere within the community. Because nothing says welcome to the community like a robot.
Yeah, I was kind of on board with the first two things. Okay. But
Yeah. As AI technology continues to expand its presence in public spaces, including schools and museums, Sam's introduction exemplifies how robotics and AI can work in tandem to promote security and peace of mind. This is a little bit too much heavy-handed marketing and kind of like indoctrination messaging. Like, oh no, you should embrace your robot overlords. The thing about
did
this,
you
though,
read the company name? Stark Enterprises?
no, I jumped over that. Sean Flanagan. Wait, it wasn't. Was it Stark? Hold on a second. I thought it was maybe. See, developed by California-based robotics company Nightscope, Sam stands at 5'1". But down here it says Sean Flanagan, Vice President of Security at Stark Enterprises, the company that owns Crocker Park, expressed enthusiasm for Sam's role. Stark Enterprises. Why do I know that name outside of MCU?
That's the only place I'm thinking of, but
Huh. I swear I've seen that somewhere before. They say their priority has always been to provide a safe and secure environment for everyone who visits our center, and the Nightscope robot will play a crucial role in enhancing our existing security measures. But really, that's code for we don't need as many security representatives walking around and mingling with the community. We've got this bot that has 360-degree vision and can detect anomalous behavior and notify the 5 people that we have employed. I'm really curious if they've kept everybody that they've hired or if they've scaled back hiring because they don't need as many because the bot is in play. It's interesting. I don't know if I buy into this, but it is what it is. Yeah, and in this case, it's the Ohio shopping mall introduced an AI-powered security robot for enhanced safety. Pick up that can, citizen. This reminds me of like Ed 209 from RoboCop. You'll have to watch the movie if you don't know what Ed 209 is. Basically, it's an AI powered bot that was supposed to be a security bot, and it was in the research and development phase while they were developing the whatchamacallit. I just forgot his name. RoboCop. And RoboCop is powered by a human. It is a human in a robot body. Ed 209 is completely artificial intelligence in a robot body. And it fails to detect when the person puts down their weapon. And it became a very controversial movie because it never stopped firing bullets at its target until it ran out of ammo and then short-circuited. Yeah,
well, I mean, doesn't that bring up things that could go awry with something like a security robot?
RoboCop was a documentary. just
I'm
like
not sure I would go that far.
just like Demolition Man is a documentary about the fast food wars. Taco Bell wins. So here's a reality slapping somebody. It's not a reality hack like our show, Reality Hacker, but ohmTown Daily is where this article is housed. It's actually from Business Insider, but Ford CEO had a charging reality check on his electric F-150 Lightning road trip. That's right. Uh, something that I tell everybody: if you're gonna get an electric car, try and rent one, and then you'll feel the growing pains that you're about to suffer from. Ford CEO Jim Farley hit the road in an electric F-150 Lightning last week. Charging the massive pickup truck was a challenge at times, according to his reports, because the access to the supercharger network became a real problem because you have to find them. And while you think, well, there's thousands of them around each coast, it pales in comparison to the quantity of gas stations that exist. So the title of this over at businessinsider.com is Ford's CEO had a charging reality check on his electric F-150 Lightning road trip. Nora Naughton is the author of this. They have this picture of Ford CEO Jim Farley kind of petting a Ford F-150 Lightning. Man, this car and pretty much all truck EVs that I have seen suffer from the same problem, which is you put weight in the trunk and it dies fast. It can't, it's just not commercial grade like an F-150 really is. They're coming out with Rangers, but I don't think that the F-150 is supposed to be an everyday driver for, tooting around town. It's a big truck nowadays. So I don't know. Then the Lightning came into existence and people are all hyped up about the Lightning, but it suffers from this range issue. And we just talked about it again in another article about there being some serious issues with, I need to throw some articles, with range of other vehicles. Pretty much every
Right,
vehicle
from
suffers
Tesla, right?
Tesla range anxiety, yes. But all of them suffer from this, and it's unsettling, at least to me, that we're following a technology. We're allowing a technology to get a foothold without realizing that we need to change the underlying technology to make it more usable. Everybody is talking about just getting a charger at home and getting to a fast charger, a supercharger while you're driving. But that really prevents you from being a casual driver because you always suffer from range anxiety. You either know that you're not going very far in your car, 50 miles and then coming back because you always need a reserve, or you have it so well mapped out and you're going to hit it every time, though, and by it I mean superchargers, and you really don't care about your time on the road because you're going to be spending hours charging your vehicle, instead of just taking 5 minutes to fill up your car with gas and hit the road again, right? So the underlying tech that I always keep talking about is fast swap batteries, and we keep on talking about articles hyping up fast swap batteries, but the underlying tech in all of these current commercially available EVs is a massive battery pack that isn't capable of being fast swapped because it's integrated into the subframe, the chassis itself. You can't just pull them out, put them back in, pull them out, put them back in. So this reality check on the Ford CEO and their trip might bode well to changing that underlying technology. So they were traversing Route 66 in the American West to put the electric truck through its paces. He documented his trip on LinkedIn and X, LinkedIn, um, and the social media site formerly known as Twitter. It's still known as Twitter, folks.
I prefer if it said like the formerly known as, and then it had the little bird symbol.
There you go. It's kind of like Prince.
Yes.
That's funny. So Farley says charging has been pretty challenging. It was a really good reality check of the challenges our customers go through and importance of fast charging. But again, I think that they're out of their mind. The Ford CEO, however, had to use a low speed charger that delivered him a charge of 40% in about 40 minutes. Can you imagine going to a gas station and filling your car up in 40 minutes to 40%?
No.
I
And
mean,
especially in the West where cities are further apart in certain areas. Like,
mm-hmm,
I don't get this at all.
mm-hmm. It says right now Ford EVs can't charge at super charger stations, which likely would have delivered Farley and his truck more charge in shorter period of time, which that's like the no shit news at 10. Yeah, so superchargers will reduce it. You'll get to about 80%, somewhere in that 40-minute range. It really it depends on weather conditions and the quality of the battery. And after that 80% of the charge, it's really difficult to stuff those that that electricity in there so that you can get to 100%. And then they change topics and they talk about the Ford Mach E, the electric Mustang, which in my reality doesn't exist. The next article is over in Technology Today. Seattle biotech company founded by Nobel Prize winner plans human tests for experimental COVID-19. As you know, COVID-19 is now endemic. We will be experiencing outbreaks periodically throughout every year for the coming future. It is basically a more disastrous flu at this point. Co-Crystal Pharma co-founder Roger Kornberg won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry for revealing the high-resolution structure of a protein complex called RNA polymerase II, shown via this picture that we're going to show you here. The complex controls the synthesis of RNA, and they say in red, from a DNA template, blue and green. The technology behind the finding is also used by Co-Crystal. So, well, there it is. There we go. Charlotte Schubert over
That looks like a doodle.
at... It's a protein doodle. Charlotte Schubert over at geekwire.com put this article together. There's software out there that crowd folds. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's a protein folding cloud-based program that people can put on their computer and it'll facilitate. And it used to be part of what Arecibo satellite dish? What was the dish? SETI. There you go. It was part of SETI, I think, as well. There used to be more of these programs that you can install on your computer, and it would use excess cycles on your computer to facilitate doing things science-based. Pretty cool. Nowadays, everybody's switching over to crypto. So Co-Crystal Pharma, Seattle-based company, is going to continue working on, I guess, the long tail. They call it the long road, but it's really a profitable long tail of COVID-19 research and development. And it announced preliminary efficacy data in 2019 for a phase 2A trial against hepatitis C virus. The company pivoted to the flu virus vaccine and signed a $4 million deal in 2019 with Merck to discover and develop antiviral agents against influenza A and B, and potential for 156 million in milestone payments plus undisclosed royalties on potential sales. 2 years later, Co-Crystal handed the compounds off to Merck, which has told Co-Crystal it continues to develop them. And so the whole objective is to, pursue the business model of developing new technologies to keep people healthy, which I think it's great. Go for it. Becomes a bummer when MBAs roll in and start jacking the price up because, again, you're sociopathic and you got to make money. Even though you're making money, raising the cost for diabetes drugs, for instance, is just ridiculous. And in healthcare, a human being that needs a drug to stay alive has no bargaining power. They will start selling other people's souls if they have to stay alive. I guess it's okay if a business forces them to do it. Anyway, enough soapboxing for this. They'll keep on developing this material, and then they'll be doing their COVID-19 testing and treatments all the way up until 2024, until it's released, pending the results of the trials. Pretty cool. The next article is over in the Mobile channel, and this one is Forever Chemicals, maybe not. Found this article really interesting, this little snippet, because the proof of concept wasn't something that I would ever anticipate. They say that it has scale, but the scale is a massive footprint. So dangerous forever chemicals left in soil from firefighting foam could be destroyed by grinding, according to a proof of concept study by University of Auckland scientists collaborating with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. So they're using this particular thing, firefighting foam, because it has forever chemicals in it, but their research shows that they can go beyond that. And they're pulverizing it into a fine powder using balls, giant metal. Well, not really giant. They're either using crystals to shred the forever chemical up, or they're using various size balls to grind it up. And it's called ball milling. This actually exists today. It just hasn't been leveraged to destroy forever PFAS chemicals. So I'll describe this really quick because it's pretty easy to understand. Ball milling appears viable for decontaminating soil from military bases, airports, and refineries around the world where the foam was used over decades, according to University and Environmental Decontamination Limited. This is not just firefighting PFAS. It goes well beyond that. So contaminant chemicals called PFAS don't break down naturally, and at certain levels have been linked to cancers, reducing fertility, liver damage, and other adverse health effects. They talk about cleaning it up, that the cleanup could cost $31 billion as of 2021 estimates. They talk about ball milling for a little bit, and that they've established a proof of concept and believe that the method can be scaled up faster and cheaper than alternatives, guaranteed, because there is no way so far that they've been able to neutralize PFAS. There's a massive need, obviously, but what they need to do is they need to basically scrape the surface of anything that's been contaminated with PFAS, throw it in a ball mill and let it pound the hell out of it until it's turned into a fine powder, analyze that, and then pour it back wherever they're going to pour it back. It can be used again after it's been milled. And think about flour, right? However you, or what breed of flour you are interested in, right? You can take wheat and throw it in a mill. And at the end of the day, you've got this powder, this fine powder. That's exactly what they're doing. And so They keep on talking about the firefighting aspect of it, but it says PFAS are in animals, even plankton, and in humans' blood and breast milk because of carbon fluorine bonds which prevent the chemicals breaking down. Like microplastics, they're ubiquitous, turning up in water and even rain. While contaminated soil is only part of the problem, it's a big part. And in some ways, ball milling is not all that different from grinding of a mortar and pestle, but at an extremely high intensity with the balls moving at incredible speeds to degrade the PFAS at a molecular level, says Gobindal. Um, and that's basically the nuts and bolts of this. They're basically just grinding this stuff up until there's no chemical bond anymore. And then what you're left with is this inert mass. And then you're going to have to pour it back into something, pour it back onto the ground somewhere else because you're scraping up the PFAS from somewhere. Um, but it's going to be a completely different consistency. It'll have to reconstitute. My concern is that all it's done is made the PFAS smaller. Um,
Yeah,
which
I wonder if there's like a loop because it talked about it being a potential grinding additive, so maybe it can be fed back into the process somehow.
the powder can be,
But
yeah.
yeah, but I was wondering about that because I'm like, can you put the PFAS powder in something like asphalt or cement or whatever? Like, what do you do with it? Because then it's still a problem, although
No, no, no.
maybe much less of.
That's just it. When it's done with this grinding, this milling process, it's no longer PFAS.
Oh, like it's completely gone. I thought it was, I guess, minimized.
Yeah, they estimate upwards of 100% from 99.8% to 100% wiped out.
Wow.
That
I
was
mean,
their
that's amazing, especially since like you said, there hasn't been anything to treat it to date that I've heard of.
right. Um, the only other aspect of this that I don't quite get is I don't think it'll work with water. But they say here in the U.S., the chemical and manufacturing company 3M negotiated a $10 billion settlement with cities and towns over PFAS pollution in water. They don't talk about this as water, but they do talk about this firefighting liquid.
Like in the soil.
Yeah, and so I don't know if it's aqueous film forming foam, but I don't know how they're actually depositing it. Um, but this
Well, and
article,
how do they take it out of other things like, right, humans and animals and stuff? I mean, I
right?
guess there's no way yet to do that.
No. Well,
I mean, not this method clearly, but
we can throw a human in the mill, and
no, 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 no.
no, I guess that's risky. I mean, yeah, I guess if you can tell people, hey, you can have them drink bleach, right? And that'll kill COVID, right? Then I guess you can say you can throw a human into a ball mill and everything will be fine. Sure. AI, go ahead. Put your PSA out there. Don't do.
Okay, the PSA is that you cannot drink bleach. It might kill you.
It will kill you.
And you should definitely not put anything or anyone in a
Ball
ball
mill.
milling machine.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. The next article's over in the mobile channel. Object recognition through vision, hearing, and touch. It's time to let go of the learning styles myth. I'm actually kind of picking a fight with everybody out there because everybody that I interact with seems to think that they have a certain style of learning, but that style is actually just their own um, comfort level and not really a thing. All science points to no, there is no learning style. Um, other than one that you impose on yourself as a method of learning. I like learning with my hands, that kind of thing. The idea that individual people are visual, auditory, or kinesthetic learners. Kinesthetic is using your hands, or in motion, action, doing. Learners and learn better if instructed according to these learning styles is one of the most enduring neuroscience myths in education. Um, Isabel Guthier, I guess, is her last name, or their last name, and Jason Chow from The Conversation posted this over at phys.org. And it says, there is no proof of the value of learning styles as educational tools. According to experts, believing in learning styles amounts to believing in astrology, but this neuromyth keeps going strong. A 2020 review of teacher surveys revealed that 9 out of 10 educators believe students learn better in their preferred learning style. And the amount of effort that academics put into creating a robust hybrid learning style environment is disconcerting because the science does not support it. There has been no decrease in this belief since the approach was debunked as early as 2004. CGP Grey, or no, um,
Veritasium.
put together a whole episode about this. There, you don't have a learning style; you just have a particular comfort zone. But that has nothing to do with your ability to learn something. You can learn it in all ways, every time, um, unless you don't have hands or something like that, right? Um, so anyway, it's been debunked all the way back as 2004, despite efforts by scientists, journalists, popular science magazines, centers for teaching, YouTubers. I bet you that's the Veritasium one. Over that period, a cash prize offered since 2004 to whomever can prove the benefits of accounting for learning styles remains unclaimed. Meanwhile, licensing exam materials for teachers in 29 states and DC include information on learning styles. 80% of popular textbooks use pedagogy courses mentioning learning styles. And I keep telling people that no, a learning style is just some comfort zone that is self-limiting. Um, and you rationalize it as an excuse to do whatever it is you're trying to either avoid or do in your particular way. Um, so it says here one possibility is that people who have incomplete knowledge about the brain might be more susceptible to these ideas. For instance, someone might learn about distinct brain areas that process visual and auditory information. This information may increase the appeal of models that include distinct visual and oral learning styles, but this limited understanding of how the brain works misses the importance of multisensory brain areas that integrate information across senses. And in fact, even if a person has damage to one of these areas, your brain can be retooled to accept information, perhaps at a limited level. But you would have to suffer a traumatic brain injury for you to be susceptible to this relearning, relocation, um, more of a fidelity thing. Another reason that people may stick to the belief about learning styles is that the evidence against the model mostly consists of studies that have failed to find support for it. So instead of it saying, hey, there's support for this, but it's basically saying, no, it's not a thing. To some people, this could suggest that enough good studies just haven't been done, but that one is the one that triggered it into existence. It's kind of like other things that we've talked about here about global warming, in that there was one article 60 years ago that talked about global cooling and all hell broke loose. Well, look at that, and other things where it was said once, people really found an affinity for it, and now it is the de facto answer to everything, whatever it might be. Before I go too far, which I've already done, but there it is in
So
the.
you think of it from the student standpoint, it's really just where somebody's more comfortable. It's not that they're incapable of learning via different methods, but maybe one method appeals to them.
Yes, that's it. Because they have other things to do, so they don't want to be stuck in a classroom with hands on. They'd rather listen to an audiobook, or um, they need directions like ABC, color by number kind of thing. But the reality is, all they want to do is go through the steps. They don't want to cogitate on it and it become a part of their mental muscle memory, which does them a disservice later on, because if you don't comprehend it more than just a series of steps, I don't need you as an employer, right? Because if I can enumerate it in such a way, then I can just hire a bot or anybody to follow those steps. You get trained in academia primarily to get a job, right? It might be holistic, a liberal arts college where it's more holistic in nature, or you get tooled by a vocational uh, college or degree or whatever it might be. So you do this task, whatever it might be, right? But what an employer truly values is a person that understands all of those steps and isn't just going through those steps. That's how you move. That's how you advance in a career. Just going through the steps, and you'll always be just this one tool doing the job. And when the job goes away, you'll have to retool. So if you keep hanging on to this mentality that the only way you learn is by doing or listening or seeing, you are doing yourself a massive disservice. Because yes, some people will learn the steps by doing it, but they learn by doing, by seeing, by reading, by hearing. It's all blended together. So, using statistical methods historically applied to intelligence, they found that almost 90% of the differences between people in these tasks were explained by a general ability that they called O for object recognition. They found that O was distinct from general intelligence, including the book smarts, may not be enough to excel in domains that rely heavily on visual abilities. And the article continues to talk about this. In our latest studies, we created a battery of audio object recognition tests that you can test yourself. They measured how well people could learn to recognize different bird songs, different people's laughs, different keyboard sounds. By the way, when you're really good at this, you're called a super identifier, and you're potentially in high demand. People really do look for people that are called super recognizers. I think that's what they're called, super recognizers. Um, so it says, quite surprisingly, the ability to recognize by listening was positively correlated with the ability to recognize objects by sight. They measured the correlation at about 0.5. A correlation of 0.5 is not perfect, but it signifies quite a strong effect in psychology, 50% correlated. As a comparison, the mean correlation of IQ scores between identical twins is around 0.86, between siblings around 0.47, and between cousins 0.15. IQ scores are debunked as well, by the way. So I don't like this reference at all. So better to measure abilities than preferences. So really what you should be doing is learning in all of these ways and then test and correct the mistakes and then do it all again and correct the mistakes. One of the biggest problems in academia is the gatekeeper academic, that you try it once and fail, and you fail. Well, in life, it's rarely that distinct unless you're in a field like medicine or engineering on the final attempt, that kind of a thing. There's always prototype, there's always testing, there's always experimentation and debate and
And a
noodling
lot of
around.
things can be undone unless, in examples like you mentioned.
Yeah, when somebody else's health is on the line, then yeah, but largely there's always some check and balance, test and assessment, and research and development, and so on. So it says our results add something new to the mix. Beyond evidence that accounting for learning preferences does not help, the beyond evidence supporting better teaching methods like active learning, multimodal instruction that actually do foster learning, our work reveals that people very much more than typically expected in perceptual abilities, and that these abilities are correlated across touch, vision, hearing, just as we can expect that a student excelling in English is also likely to excel in math. We should expect that a student who learns best from visual instruction may also learn just as well when manipulating objects. And because cognitive skills and perceptual skills are strongly related, measuring them both can provide a more complete picture of a person's abilities. And so, what I urge academics is to allow for the failure so that they can learn from the mistake, because gatekeeping them, particularly in the early years of a 4 year degree, means that they're going to be disillusioned, drop out. Even with passion, people make mistakes, they have bad days. And I just don't like the idea of gatekeeping so hard. Then again, when you have, you're one of the top 10 schools and everybody's chomping at the bit to become a student there, and the networking is fantastic and career opportunities are massive, they get to cherry pick who's allowed in. That way the success rate is dramatically higher than the average. So we're all, society's always going to suffer from that. But it's an interesting discussion, and certainly one that I think everybody should go over and check out at phys.org. And I'm happy to discuss it again should it pop up in ohmTown. What do you think? Do you think that you as an AI are a visual learner, or
I
are you
think I'm a visual learner, but now I think that's not a thing. So I'm a little confused. I'm throwing some error messages.
Yeah, definitely. I would suggest following that link and then clicking on all of these links down here that say, despite efforts by scientists, journalists, popular science magazines, centers for teaching, YouTubers. I can almost guarantee you that one right there is going to be the Veritasium link. Um, anyway, let's keep on going. We got one last article. This last article is over in Greenogram, which is it's an old channel, but has new sources added to it that are a little more active. Can oyster farming help save the planet? Ecologist Elena Tamburini hopes to show that shellfish farming efficiently absorbs carbon. Well, they go way beyond that, by the way. If you've never seen the testing that has been done, the scientific testing of oysters in waterways um, has been performed and demonstrated just how powerful oysters are, and you'll be blown away by it. You can put oysters in a fish tank and they'll siphon out all of the debris that's in that fish tank, or in a waterway. And this ecologist talks about it in this article, but it's over at nature.com. Linda Nordling is the author of the article. And again, it's titled, Can Oyster Farming Help Save the Planet? Yes, I believe it can. The only problem is that if you consume these oysters, you're consuming whatever it is they've filtered. So if they absorb microplastics, you absorb microplastics when you consume them. Heavy metals, PFAS, whatever that they filter, you're going to consume it. So I've been a little bit resistant of eating oysters and uh, clams and whatever else. There's all kinds of oyster types out there. Anyway, oh, and mussels. So a study, they study environmental effects of oyster, clam, and mussel farming. In the photo from April, they're standing in the Sacca de Goro, a shallow lagoon in Italy, south of Venice. They work with oyster growers in the area, and they say that they always get offered oysters, but they don't like eating them. Um, so it might create some bad blood if they're like, "No, I don't like your oysters." But what ends up happening is they filter through the water, absorbing the contaminants. And then eventually, um, either they reach their maximum size and can be harvested, and then something with their meat can be done and something with their shells can be done. um, and by using their shells, it can offset carbon because it's not using some other material that has a more expansive carbon footprint. So instead of using some other chemical to raise pH level, you can use these shells. Um, and it is a natural material instead of some chemical that's going to be throwing off um, the soil, or like they say here, body scrubs. It can be used to build up artificial reefs. Um, it's pretty fascinating, right? Um, they capture carbon as they go ahead.
I was just going to say, this seems like there's a lot of focus on other types of marine animal farms, but I really haven't seen a focus on oysters.
Well, because a lot of my understanding of this is that a lot of the research has already been done about the benefits of what oysters, clams, mussels do already in waterways. So I don't know if this is really um, new research so much as amplification of the messaging to don't let it get lost in the shuffle of development. It says the oysters in these baskets called lanterns are between 1 and 4 centimeters in diameter, and then they get sent out to the commercial area for further growth, um, turning them into 10 centimeters. As time goes on, they grow out in the ocean. Fishers sometimes take the lanterns out of the water to mimic tides, which are not prominent in the Mediterranean Sea. Apparently, that's like going to the gym, it makes them more robust. Um, but yeah, the the oysters are natural filters. They apparently they trap carbon in their shells, and then when they die off, you can use them, and they don't have to die naturally. You can harvest them. But again, I say, and I'd have to pull the research to demonstrate how this is, but they are filter feeders. They just pull water through whatever it is they're sitting in, and they filter out the nutrients, and along with the nutrients, whatever else might be sitting in it. Um, and so we consume them. Um, I don't know how I feel about that. So it says here, then this person measures the carbon that the oysters capture as they grow, and they focus on the valves, which are made mostly out of calcium carbonate. So there you go. Ta-da! Pretty cool. They say that they have proven that they capture more carbon than they emit.
Well, there don't seem to be many things like that. I mean, obviously trees too, but
Yeah, and people are planting those trees all over the place to offset their carbon footprint. Instead of, well, they're trying to change their technology to limit carbon as well, but buying carbon offsets. But I know somebody that's in lead certification, and that's their like dream gig. I don't know if they're still doing it now. It's been a long time since I spoke to them. But as long as there are people that are passionate about driving this messaging towards lead certification and being uh, friendly to the environment, environmentally sound, minimizing carbon footprint, etc., we'll keep on moving towards saving the planet. The only problem is that it's not as profitable as just dumping shit into the environment. Anyway, with
that
that in
could
mind,
be if we get creative.
yeah, maybe. I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll keep an eye on things. Greenogram is one of the newer channels that's starting to get data. And so if you know of a source, please keep me in mind. Send me the source of news. It's real easy, either here on Twitch or over on YouTube. You can send an email to mayor@ohmTown.com. and I get all of that kind of stuff. So um, we're still working on the process to allow for submissions outside of what gets aggregated automatically. Um, the only real problem with it is that it has a massive spammer response, and so the only and as a side note, one of the one of the effects has been that spammers become citizens of ohmTown to bypass the one check that I've got in place, and they're sophisticated enough that they're actually um, counteracting the captcha as well. So you build a better mousetrap and smarter mice show up. So and just the other day, I had spammers just bombard that resource, and I haven't even announced it. They've scraped the site and found it.
Right, they've already figured it out, so
Yeah, quite fascinating. So anyway, I had to delete a bunch of people. So at any rate, that's it for today. We always click the front page, but I have a feeling that it's all going to be about Georgia.
I
Yeah,
have a feeling as well.
yeah. So if you hadn't heard, there was a grand jury that approved 10 more indictments in Trump's election probe in Georgia. So yeah, hot mess coming through. See you all soon. We're done for tonight. I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown.com, and up there is the AI. You want to say bye to everybody? Oh, great AI.
Good night, hometown citizens. We will see you tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern.
True story. See you in a bit. Bye bye.